Ever find yourself reaching for that same song, the one that used to give you chills,
Hmm.
or ordering the usual takeout, but that spark is just
It's
gone?
like that been there, done that feeling, but for everything.
Exactly. And it's more than just being, like, fickle, right?
Right. It's actually our brains on autopilot. It's called hedonic adaptation.
Okay, hedonic adaptation sounds kind of intense for just being bored.
It's just a fancy way of saying we get used to things, even the good stuff.
Hmm.
Think of it like the first time you heard your favorite song.
Mind blown.
Exactly. But listen to it 100 times.
Yeah, it loses its magic. Becomes
Correct.
background noise almost.
And that's this whole thing, hedonic adaptation. This research article we're diving into today, it's from the Journal of Consumer Psychology. They point out this happens with everything. Music, obviously, but also food, clothes.
Even just looking at the same picture on your wall every day.
Exactly. It's like our brains crave novelty.
So we're wired to get bored, basically. That's kind of a bummer.
It is, but here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
There's a surprising solution they found.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Hit me with it.
Creative thinking.
Wait, like, creativity can save my dinner excitement? My Spotify playlists?
Think of it like this. Creativity is like a muscle, right? Forces your brain to be flexible, to see those new angles.
So instead of just going through the motions, we need to actively engage, even if it's something familiar, try to find something new each time.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that the research actually found that the folks who tapped into that creative thinking, they reported less boredom and way more enjoyment compared to those who, just went through the motions.
That's wild. Okay, so how did they test that? Did they just, like, hand people paintbrushes? What'd they do?
It was actually really clever how they did it.
Right.
They used all sorts of things to spark creative thinking. Sometimes it was like direct instructions. Other times they had them do fun tasks like paper crafts, building stuff.
So it wasn't about, like, being an artist. It was about getting those creative wheels turning.
Exactly.
Okay, so they get people thinking creatively, then have them, like, listen to music or look at photos, stuff like that, on repeat. What happened?
Well, so in one of their experiments, they had people look at the same photograph over and over. And one group, they were told to view it the exact CT same way each time.
Oh, no, that sounds awful.
Right. The other group, though, they were encouraged to find something new each time they looked.
Okay, so one group is stuck in a rut, the others, I don't know, playing I Spy with a photo.
And the researchers actually called that first group, the one stuck in the rut, they called it constrained cognitive flexibility. Basically, they're trapped.
By their own brains.
And guess what? That group, they have the highest boredom levels.
Well, yeah, if you're not even trying to find something new, of course you're going to be bored, even if it's something you normally like. Makes sense to me. So what you're saying is even if I'm, like, stuck doing something super repetitive, like, I don't know, folding laundry, a little creativity could actually make it, like, less soul-crushing.
That's what the research suggests, yeah. It's not about needing to change the activity, really. It's more about how we're, approaching it mentally.
So it's not about being some kind of creative genius. It's just about making that effort to, like, shift your perspective a bit. That's actually kind of empowering.
It is empowering. And one of the studies actually looked at this with food, believe it or not.
Okay, how do you get creative with food?
They had people get the same sausage multiple times.
Oh, no, I'm already bored just thinking about it.
Right. But here's the thing. Some of them got a totally plain sausage, right? Others got one that had all sorts of flavors and textures and stuff.
Okay, so I'm guessing the fancy sausage people, they were less bored?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually even more interesting than that, because for the people stuck with the plain sausage, the creative thinking made a huge difference.
Really? So even though it was the same boring sausage, they were less bored just because they were thinking creatively?
They were more into it, yeah. Less bored overall.
So were they, like, imagining it was a gourmet meal or something, trying to, like, spice it up mentally?
Maybe. But here's the thing. For the people with the more complex sausage, the one that already had all the bells and whistles, the creative thinking didn't change their experience much at all.
Well, yeah, their brains were already, like, in creative mode just from all the different tastes and stuff.
Exactly. Their senses were already engaged. And that's important, I think, because it shows this isn't like a one-size-fits-all solution, right? The power of creative thinking, it really shines when we're talking about things that have become routine, things that are overly familiar.
Okay, so how do we take this from the lab out into the real world? Like, I can't exactly whip out a pottery wheel on my commute, can I? Okay, maybe not. But seriously, how do we actually use this in everyday life?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's less about, I think, never experiencing boredom ever again. I don't think that's realistic for anyone.
Yeah.
It's more about changing how we relate to it.
So, like, instead of dreading boredom, we should see it as a signal to, I don't know, get those creative juices flowing.
Exactly. It's like a cue from your brain saying, hey, I need something a little more stimulating over here. And we have the power to do that. We don't have to just sit there and be bored.
So instead of letting boredom, like, take over, we can use it as a chance to shake things up a bit.
Yeah. It's about, like, really cultivating that sense of curiosity.
Okay, curiosity. Got it. But, like, how do I actually put that into practice,
Well, it's about getting out of those autopilot routines. Like, next time you feel that boredom coming on, don't check out, check in.
So instead of just, like, inhaling my usual takeout order, I should actually, smell the noodles?
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Or think about the different spices they used, or even just, like, where those noodles came from. It's about, finding that one little thing you haven't noticed before.
So I can even spice up my inbox, you're saying?
There you go. Try answering your emails out of order. Turn it into a game.
Ooh, a little work-life hack. I like it.
The point is, it's about finding those little things to shake up your routine. It doesn't have to be a huge thing.
So no more passive scrolling, no more autopilot. We're taking back boredom.
Yes, exactly. And you might even, like, surprise yourself with how much you actually start to enjoy those things that used to be, our brains, they love a challenge.
This has been honestly eye-opening. It's really cool to realize we have so much more control over boredom than we think.
Absolutely. And that's really, I think, the takeaway here. It's not about, eradicating boredom. It's just about using it.
And that actually makes me wonder because, all this research, it was focused on like food, music, our commutes. But what about the less concrete stuff? Like, could this creative thinking help with, I don't know, boredom in a relationship or even just like with our own thoughts?
That's a great question. And, I'd love to hear what our listeners think.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you've got some thoughts on that, hit us up. But for now, that's it for today's deep dive into the very unexpected link between creativity and boredom.